Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. I am Jennifer Meyer and I am joined today by Lisa. You're gonna have to help me with the pronunciation. Is it Menees?
It's Menees. I know
Menees?
it's a lot of E's for such a short
Menees.
last name.
Yes. No, that's great. And Lisa is a professional organizer in my local business area. Super excited to have her on. I'm thinking about springtime and cleaning, and I'm a special needs mom, so keeping my house organized is actually super important for me and my son. So excited to have Lisa joining us. Thank you so much, Lisa. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for
Um,
having me on.
yeah, no problem. And I would really love to start with just you telling us a little bit about you and why you decided you wanted to be a professional organizer.
Oh, it's an interesting story, really. I'm actually a retired teacher. I taught second and third grade for 20 years before we moved
Oh,
down
okay.
here, and I was kind of getting burned out. I didn't want to get licensed in another state, but I've always been a naturally organized person. And the home edit and Marie Kondo really kind of put this business on the map. So I just kind of thought, all right, let's give it a try. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. It's fine. But I felt like I could combine the two, the teaching and the organizing, to help people learn how to categorize. Because I thought that was like second nature for people, but it's really not. And to come up with categories that actually work for you, not just basic categories that you think you're supposed to have or anything like that, but also how to create just some functional systems that work in your home. So that's kind of where it came from.
Would you say that organization for you is like value important, purpose driven part of your life? Then like it's just listening to you talk, it sounds kind of like this is how I live. You know, like those people that go to the gym because that's just what they do. They go to the gym, like
Mm-hmm.
you organize, that's just what you do. Your space is
Well, I mean,
organized.
it kind of stresses me out in my
Mm.
home if if there's clutter. I don't like clutter. I like, decor and things like that, but clutter just stresses me out. But also, since I've gotten into this, now it's a little bit of a challenge. And I'll walk in my pantry like, how can I make this better? What can I
Nice.
do to maximize even more space here and there? Which, that's above and beyond what the average client needs, but that's just for me what I do. And it's just the fun of it, and just trying to see what I can implement to make it better, to make it more productive, to make it more functional, and all that, much to my husband's dismay. He's like,
Right.
stop changing the
Stop
pantry.
it. What do you find most of your clients need?
As far as space,
Yeah.
which spaces? I do a lot of pantries and master closets, a lot of garages, a lot of kid spaces.
Yeah.
So children's bedrooms, play areas, the toys become they're the bane of the existence of many parents out there, and just trying to find solutions that let the kids have toys to play with, but still mom and dad aren't tripping over them and have to see them everywhere.
Right.
Um, so, closets, linen closets, just spare bedrooms.
What
It
are
just kind of runs the gamut.
what do you find are some of the things, lifestyle habits or personal preferences that you have to kind of work with in order to get a system in place for a family that they can maintain? I imagine that's a challenge. Like, you can organize
Yeah,
something, but if it's not going to match with how they live, it's probably not going to stay organized for a real long time.
absolutely. So, I mean, a lot of people start by looking on Pinterest, or they go to the store and they buy all these containers, and that's what's going to get me organized. That's going to be the trick of it all. And it is a lot of conversation back and forth, because we have to match as closely to your natural routines and habits as possible. If we try to do a complete 180 and say, okay, now every time you get the mail, you have to deal with that mail 100% right then and there. Do not pass go, blah, blah, blah. Well, that's not real life, and that's never going to work. So we have to keep it to as closely to your natural routines and habits as possible. But interestingly, I've just come up with a quiz to help people figure out their organization style, because when they're out there looking on Pinterest or shopping for containers, they a lot of times they go with things that they think are pretty, or things that just look good, but it doesn't match your organization style. So if your organization style is here, but if you're getting products for this organization style over here, it's not going to stick and it's not going to be sustainable either. So I wanted people to have a way to learn that little piece about themselves and then give them, okay, here are the types of containers, here's the type of systems that are most likely going to work for how your brain is wired and for how your family functions in your home.
See, and I love that because what I'm obsessed with, like if I had something that I was obsessed with, it would be how people's brains work.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody, especially we're just getting off the new year, right? And everybody's like, new year, new you. And I'm like, that is not how this works. It will never be how it works. It was never how it worked. You have a habitual way of doing things. And if you want to change that, it takes a lot of energy and effort. It doesn't just happen. So putting boxes in a space where there were never boxes before does not magically.
Well, and all of that has to be communicated with everybody. So everybody understands where to go, where to find it, where to put it, with, all of those things.
Yeah. And I'm sure, lots of conversations with kids about, look, the toys go in this bucket now and that kind of thing.
Right.
You had mentioned a couple of shows. There's I can't remember the name of it, but there was one book that I had grabbed where the ladies who did the organization were really into this like rainbow structure, like we're going to structure everything with rainbows. Is that ever anything that you find is helpful? Because we didn't find it helpful.
Yeah, for most things, no. Okay. For most things, I would say you categorize by function or use, not by color. Now, the one time that I do like to categorize by color, and it doesn't work for everybody. And if it doesn't work for people, then I don't do it. But in closets with clothes. Typically, I like to categorize by sleeve length and then by color within the sleeve length. So you have all your short sleeve shirts, all your long sleeve shirts, all your sweatshirts, whatever. But then all the colors are together. And the reason that I find that particular instance of rainbow works is because when you're going to your closet and you need a black shirt, you now have this much space of closet to look through versus all of the closet to look through. And it saves time. It also, gives you a visual of how many black shirts do I actually have? So then when I'm out shopping and I find one that's on sale, and you can always use a black shirt, I should just pick up this black shirt. You can remember in your head, I think I've got a pretty decent sized section of black shirts already. Maybe I don't need this one too. So
that's how my closet is organized. And it's the only space in my house that has been successful with the color space.
Right.
And I did my son's closet that way too, thinking it would be an easy way for him to keep stuff organized. And he absolutely doesn't care, which I thought was curious because everywhere else in the entire house, he's very much like, this has a space. The cabinets need to be closed. He takes something out, he puts it away, but his bedroom looks like a bomb has gone off. And it's crazy. I thought for sure that having his closet organized color would be
and structured.
Would be really obvious for him, really helpful for him. He doesn't care. We've
How
explained
old is
it.
your son?
Well, he's 17, but his autism is just like, and that's probably normal 17-year-old boy behavior anyway. So, it's just a haphazard mess, but that
the
makes
rules
sense.
are maybe different for him in the public spaces of the house versus his own private space.
They very much are.
Especially neurodivergents have very specified, structured rules kind of in their minds. And if it fits, it fits. But if it doesn't, it doesn't. And that just doesn't work for him. So. We can keep trying, but it's always going to fall apart because that's not how his brain is wired for that space. So
I've definitely learned to not try to go against his grain too much. Yep. It's just not worth the effort for something that's, really not that important anyway. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, how significant is this, right? So I have to ask myself that a lot from time to time, but it is interesting. I was surprised. So it sounds like what you do is you kind of figure out the category at the smallest denominator and then organize from that as much as you have short sleeve shirts and then long sleeve shirts. How how far down can you go before there's a common denominator and then organizing from that? Is that typically what you do, or is it completely client dependent?
It's always client dependent, because the way I would organize my space is very much likely not a way that would work for you or somebody else out there. I
Yeah,
have plenty of clients who just want sleeve length, don't care about color.
right,
Plenty of clients who I just want all of my black together. I don't care if it's shirts, pants, whatever. I want all the black stuff together. I
right.
want all the gray stuff together. Okay. It comes down to the conversations and the consultation. In our consultation, we have a pretty good conversation about, okay, what are your issues in this space? What's working? What's not? What have you tried in the past?
Right,
And what are your goals? Like, what do you want to be able to do that you can't do right now?
right,
And then it's, kind of okay, so when you're getting dressed for work, a lot of scenarios like, where would you think to look for this? And where would you want this to be? And what do you wear the most of? Or what do you typically like to grab? Whatever.
right.
It's just a lot of scenarios, a lot of questions, trying to help clients understand their own categories and then help me understand which categories make the most sense. And it's just kind of going from there.
Yeah.
But
It's always amazing to me how much, and I mean, it should be obvious because we call it a service, right? But it's always
yeah,
amazing to me how much of a service business is really about the customer or the relationship with the client and not really so much to do with the work itself. You probably spend
oh, absolutely.
most of your time talking to the client than you do
Hmm.
organizing the closets, right?
Oh,
It's
absolutely.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have I remember having a conversation about that with a colleague when I was getting into librarian work, and I love to read, and she's like, "That's great. And do you like people? Because that's really most of the job." It's always
You don't
funny
get to
to
sit and
me.
read,
Yeah, it's
right?
not a job where you get to like get paid to read books, although that would be fantastic. That's cool.
Yeah.
I love it. So
When we first moved down here, before I started this, I was actually doing some volunteer time at our local library. And I absolutely just loved, all I was doing was like pulling the books off the shelves for the people that have ordered a book, and it's just something about the order of it all and just alphabetizing
yeah,
everything. I really, like if I
it's a
had
very
time to do that still, that's what I would be doing. I
it's a
love it.
very zen space if
It
you
very
like
is,
those
very
kinds
much
of
is.
things, very much.
Yeah.
So do you find that there are specific times or transition areas in a person's life typically where they need organization maybe a little bit more than at other times?
Yes, it's different for everyone, and it can be tied to like the major life events. You've just had a baby or added a baby to the family, or maybe the kids have moved out, or maybe you need to move a parent in, and now we have to scramble to
Right.
find space. Or during COVID when we all had to carve office space or workspace out of nothing.
Yeah.
Those were definite times when organization was a priority, but it's also any time that life has just gotten too cumbersome or stressful instead of peaceful. To me, that is when organization is probably going to be helpful for you. If your stress has overpowered your peace,
Right.
um, organization is probably going to be something that can help you through that. Because I mean, clutter causes it's heavy, it's overwhelming, it's debilitating, and it causes so much stress and anxiety in people. And
Hmm.
as soon as you can alleviate that, man, now you've got the bandwidth and the mind space for all those other things that
Right.
are more important, focusing on family time or actually being more productive in your job or whatever it is. It's amazing how much a change you see when we've eliminated that stressor. So
Right.
that's probably the life event that I see most often. It's people
Yeah.
that are, just too busy and they can't get to it. But when they come home, their home just stresses them out,
Right.
or they're too overwhelmed and they don't know where to begin. They walk into a space, they get heart palpitations, they can't see a way forward. They walk out, they shut the door, like I don't know what to do. So yeah, those are mainly the people that I work with a lot.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily the major life events that you necessarily think. It's just
Yeah.
home has become a stressful place, and
Yeah.
that's not the way it should be.
Yeah. I remember the first time I had that kind of experience. So I'm from the Midwest. We
Me
moved
too.
in, oh, there. Where at?
I'm from Illinois.
Oh, me too. That's crazy. That's so
Where?
funny. I lived in a tiny little town north of Peoria called Chillicothe. So it's about 2 hours south of Chicago. It's about a
Yeah, I
half an
know where you're at.
hour. Yeah, about a half an hour
I'm
north
from
of Peoria.
Champaign-Urbana.
Oh, well, there you go, right there on the border. Right.
I know.
That's amazing. That's
We're
so cool.
practically neighbors. Look at
Practically
that.
neighbors. Yeah, when we moved from the Midwest to North Carolina, obviously we had to box everything up and put it on a truck, and they charged by weight. So we got rid of a lot of stuff just to save on the price of the move to get down here. And then when we got here and we're unloading in our new space and we're setting up our house, I'm like, this is so much better. Like, and I don't know how many pounds of stuff we ended up donating or getting rid of or giving to whatever, but it was significant enough of a donation that when we got here and we were setting things up and I'm in my new home, I was like, this is better. And
Yeah.
since then, I've been pretty consistent about not bringing in more than I have space for and moving. I mean, something comes in, something goes out. That happens like almost all of the time because I was just amazed at how much less stress I had simply because there was less in my house. Like there was just less clutter. Like you were saying, there's just less stacks of paper and oh my God, the books. I mean, I'm a librarian, right? Just all kinds of books. I started getting ebooks because it was just overwhelming for the space. It was crazy. So I totally resonate with that.
Yeah, that's amazing. That, I mean, if I could get all my clients to be a one in and one out kind of person, it would make such a difference. But I mean, when I'm helping people downsize, okay, everything in your house is now dollars on a truck, and we have to think about the dollars on the truck. Or, if you're stuck on what to keep and what to let go, if you start thinking about your home as real estate, and is this item worth the real estate it's taking up, or do you have other things that are more important to have in that space?
Yeah.
Sometimes thinking of it, taking the emotion out of it a little bit and thinking of it more as like money and real estate helps people let go a little bit better.
Yeah, so that's awesome. So that's kind of an answer to the question I'm going to ask you. Like, what tips or tricks or techniques would you have for people who are trying to calm their space down a little bit? So don't have too much stuff.
So, well, I mean, the first thing is to set goals. Like, what do you want out of this space? What do you want to be able to do that you haven't been able to do before? And then purging is, I mean, it sounds cliche, but it is the biggest part. I cannot organize you out of too much stuff in too little space. It's impossible to do. There isn't a system in the world that's going to work if you don't get rid of some of the things in your space. And then from there, it's categorizing. And again, I thought that a lot of people really understood that, but coming up with categories that make sense to you, that work for you, and then containers are a big part of it, but it's knowing the right containers to use in the right space, how to use your containers to maximize your space, how to make sure everything is visible and accessible. But the step that most people forget or don't think about is the maintaining part.
Right.
I tell people, you don't live in a museum. You're using the things in your home. And so they are going to be moved around, and it is not real life that everything is going to go back where it goes exactly when you're done using it.
Right.
So it's setting aside that time to do the reset, and whether that's daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, whatever works for your family, making the time to do that reset is what is going to make your system sustainable over the long term.
Yeah.
And I do actually have a master class on my website as well, where, I kind of walk you through, if you are a DIYer and you want to organize your own space, I've got different, levels depending on kind of your learning style and what you need. But trying to walk you through the process of actually how to do that, because it can be very difficult for a lot of people.
I love that. I love the maintenance part of it so much, because we live in a way where we feel like we're going to get to a finish line.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to arrive, and when we arrive, it'll all be good. And
yes.
it doesn't
Everybody
matter.
thinks I'm going to get organized and then it's going to be great and it'll be perfect. No, it's going to be great for that little bit, but then it's going to start to fall apart.
Yeah, and it's funny because I got really ambitious, and I got a label maker and bought some stuff from my pantry, and my pantry still looks good. But I do have to maintain, and usually I do that once a week when I'm putting groceries away or whatever, and I just shift things back around and put them back where they were. And I figured, I'm sure the labels help, right? I'm sure the labels help. But the truth is that, my kids just put stuff back in the pantry or in the fridge or whatever. And it doesn't matter that there's a big fruit sticker on the side of this drawer for the apples to go into. The apple's just going to go where the apple falls. And I think we set ourselves up for failure if we think in anything that we do, organizing, learning how to anything. I think we set ourselves up for failure if we think we're going to arrive someplace and then it'll just be good for forever. That's just not how it works for anything. I can't think of a single thing on the planet that works that way. It just doesn't. Yep. So that totally makes sense. Okay, I have two really fun questions for you before we get done. The first one is, if you were going to give organization a movie genre, what would be the movie genre that you think picks that the most? It's the closest to organizing.
Ooh, that's a good
comedy, suspenseful, drama. Is it a Hallmark movie or is it a thriller?
I'd say probably drama with a touch of Hallmark, maybe, just because the thrill for me is seeing the calm come over a client's face, seeing the weight lifted. And at the end, when I can show them the potential that they never could even see in their space, it's the same light bulb moment as when you're trying to teach a child something and finally they get it and it goes off. And that is just, that was an unexpected plus. I always loved that in teaching. I didn't have any idea that would also, transfer over into this, but that's probably the best part, is when they look at it and like, oh my gosh, I can see it now. And now that they have the systems in place, they understand the system. Now they're completely motivated to make it work and to keep it going. And
that's awesome.
So I guess that's where I'm saying, a little bit of a rom-com kind of drama with a little bit of Hallmark in there.
A little bit of Hallmark. That's awesome. I love it.
Touch of Hallmark.
Okay. And the last one, if you were going to create a playlist, a music playlist to listen to while you're organizing somebody's space, what do you have in your headphones? What's playing in your ears?
For me to listen to, or for them to listen to?
No, for you to listen
to. So, I guess I would start with something real motivational, kind of like what you would what gets you going in a workout or something like that. So, something like a Start Me Up by Rolling Stones or something like that.
Nice.
I'd probably throw in a Let It Go from Frozen. But I'd want to I want to have that playing in the background so other people can hear it too, not just me.
There you go.
And I get, maybe something light and airy. I don't know, maybe a classical sort of, I'm not necessarily into classical music, but just because you want the space to feel light and airy and peaceful. And that, I guess, kind of makes me think classical type music, just because that's what we're going for. That's the feeling that we're going for in the space.
I love it.
But yeah, just something that's peaceful. Or maybe
fabulous.
it's the tranquil noises that are on when you're getting a massage or something like that, like ocean sounds or something like that. Just something
very zen.
Zen, and help you breathe in your space or something like that.
That's good. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Do you ever incorporate scents into a space when you're organizing it, or is that more I guess maybe I'm thinking like staging for your home and decorating like diffusers and lavender. And do you ever
Yeah.
mess with that at all?
I don't, just because I'm particularly me, I am sensitive to smells
Oh,
and
good to
scents,
know.
and certain ones just set off a headache right away. But I can totally see how that would be helpful for a lot of people. And something like a lavender scent could give you a more peaceful vibe in your space, therefore, you know,
Right. I love it.
making you make you want to keep it a little bit more organized and make you just really enjoy the zen of it.
That's cool. I love it. Well,
Yeah,
I really appreciate you chit-chatting with me this afternoon.
absolutely.
See how all of
I
this
had a great
goes.
time.
And
Thanks for having me on your
yeah,
show.
no, this was fun and I appreciate it. Good pearls of wisdom in all of that. So I truly one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on is because I appreciate a tidy space. It just
Yeah.
makes me feel better. And I think the older I get, the more I need it to be tidy. Like when
Hmm.
I was younger, it didn't bother me as much, but now as a mom and having done like, I don't have time for the clutter. I don't have any more room for maybe it's perimenopause. I don't know. I just know that it's
Yeah.
not good.
No, I mean it's there's a lot of stats out there, but like it takes you 40% longer to clean a cluttered house
Wow,
than a decluttered one.
that's
Yeah, and just I
crazy.
mean, like nobody's got that kind of time.
No, no,
Nobody
not at
has
all.
any extra time for especially a chore like that, but nobody's
No,
got that kind of time. So
no.
we
Well,
need to save as many minutes as possible in our day.
yeah, and as much energy, as much
Hmm.
energy. So
Yes,
emotional and physical energy. So conserve your
absolutely.
energy. Anyway, thank you so much, Lisa. I really appreciate it. I hope that you have a spectacular day, and
Thank you.
I will talk with you soon.
All right.
All right.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Okay.